So you think you want to go to law school? Me too. And recently, I actually got into law school, and so I thought it would be great for me to share my law school journey with you guys, but also just give tips and things that I've learned along the way. So this video is for anyone who's considering law school, whose family's considering going to law school, who may be considering going to law school. Here are all the tips I have for you to get into the law school of your choice. So first, you want to make sure you know why you want to go to law school. You may not know the particular area of law that you want to study, but when you're doing anything that could be challenging, you want to know your why. What's behind your passion? What's going to drive you when you get discouraged? That was very, very big for me throughout this process of preparing for tests and applying, and really my why was what kept me going. The second thing that's really important in getting into law school is your GPA, your undergrad GPA. If you are still in undergrad, keep grinding out, keep working hard, keep putting your best foot forward, because the higher your GPA, the better chances you have as far as going to the school of your choice. Now, for me, because I'm honest, my undergrad GPA was a 2.89. So as I started the application process, I was like really worried, like how they're not gonna let me in. I messed up, and at this point in time, I had been out of school for 4 years. So as far as undergrad, and so if you're like me and somebody who may not have had the best undergrad GPA, just don't let that discourage you, because the application process for law school is built upon many things. Yes, your GPA is important, but it's built upon many, many, many things. With that, I also did a graduate program, master coursework, and in my master coursework, I finished with a 3.8. And so part of my application was explaining some immaturity and some life circumstances on my part in undergrad that led me to get that 2.89. But then had being someone who had went back to school, I had the opportunity to tell them things I had learned in ways that I had grown that had given me the opportunity to earn a 3.8 in master coursework. And so I say that to say, like, if you're somebody who went to undergrad and have changed careers once and you went back to school, do include that information, because again, they take into account your undergrad GPA, but they also take into graduate coursework and things like that that you have completed. So the next major part of the application process as far as getting into law school would be letters of recommendation. So I would say at the very least, you want 3 recommenders to write you letters of recommendations for your law school applications. Now, depending on where you're applying, that school might ask for a specific number and only accept a specific number. So you also want to make sure you look to the requirements of the school for that. Now, when it comes to recommenders, if you're still in undergrad and you're developing those relationships with your professors when you go to apply, of course, reach back to those professors and invite them to join you on your journey to law school. For me, that was not the case. I had been out of school for 4 years, almost 5 years. I had been working since I graduated from college out of school. And so one of my recommenders was a woman who's on leadership at my school. She had been with me since I started working at the school, was with me the whole entire time as I worked at the school. She could speak to my character, she could speak to my strengths, she can speak to my weaknesses. We had a good relationship, so her letter would be genuine. And so I asked her to write me a letter of recommendation as an employer. Now, I also completed master coursework. I got my master's in urban education through Memphis Teacher Residency. And so I asked our former director of residency and our current director of residency, who both knew me throughout the program and kept in touch with me throughout the program, and still keep in touch with me now, to write me letters of recommendation. And they could speak to who I was as an actual student, and who I was, like my passions and things that drive me. and how I handled correction. And so I will say, you want to make sure your recommenders are people who know you and who can speak to your actual character. You just don't want someone to write you a letter of recommendation because they have a big name and they don't genuinely know you. Because I feel like people who read your law school applications would be able to identify that. Also, you want to give your recommenders time to write the letter. You don't want to rush them. You don't want to be a pest to them, like hurry, hurry, hurry. You want to tell them well in advance before you actually need the letter, and give them time to complete that. Now, my recommenders got my letters done immediately, like extremely fast, but they had a lot of time to do them if they needed to take it, and that wasn't something I was going to rush them to do. Now, I will say, when you're applying to law school, you have the opportunity to mark your letter. You have the opportunity to opt out of actually reading the letters that your recommenders submit to the Law School Admission Council. I chose to opt out of that as a personal choice, just because I wanted my recommenders to know that they could say whatever they felt about me, and I was never going to see it. Now, with that, it's because I knew that these recommenders would speak truth, and they would they knew me, and they had plenty of good things to say about me. So I will say, again, you want to have a relationship with your recommenders that truth can come out, good things can come out, that's actually genuine. Another big piece of the law school application that I spent a lot of time on, and I mean a lot of time on, was my personal statement. Your personal statement is where you get to tell the law school who you are. It is not your resume. It is not your resume, okay? So don't go just writing your resume as your personal statement. This is where you get to tell the why. This is where you get to give your why to law school. This is where you get to express why you're interested in a particular law school. This is where you get to tell your story. And so you want to take time actually writing that. Now, some schools have certain things they want to be included into your personal statement, and some things that they don't want to be included. So again, make sure you're actually looking at the application requirements for particular schools when you go to write your personal statement. But I had a hard time with that until I realized that it's just me giving them my why, telling me who I am, and then telling them, you know, essentially why I think their school would grow me and benefit me. I also had plenty of people look over my personal statement and who knew me. So people who knew me look over my personal statement and tell me if I was like playing myself, as far as like not sharing things that are strong to my character, or if I was confusing, or if I had errors, you know, things like that. So you do want to have someone who knows you to look over your personal statement, or a couple people to look over your personal statement. As I mentioned, the personal statement is not a resume, but another key part of your law school application will be your resume. You want to include honors that you got, clubs that you were involved in, jobs that you had, you know, things that actually show that you could be consistent, and things that actually show that you had like growth and leadership and opportunities like that. Volunteer work is a big one, because remember, you're going to law school. Law school is a place where you want to be honest and ethical, so don't feel like you need to make up stuff on your resume. Like I had that. I worked at the grocery store from 15 all the way through college, so I put that on there. I didn't say that I was like the grocery recruiter or the top salesman at the grocery store. None of that. I was a cashier, right? And I was honest in that. And that's one thing you want to make sure throughout your whole application process, that you are honest in your application process. Law schools also want to know if you had any admonitory actions taken against you during your undergrad or just in your life. Things like DUIs, jail time, being kicked out of universities, academic probation, things like that. Again, you want to be honest when you're applying for law school, because you're going into a profession where you need to be honest, and you want that character to be true of who you are. So again, just be honest on your application. There is a section where you will have to tell those things, be specific, You don't want anything to just come up randomly that you didn't tell them. And that's just a rule of life. Like when you're putting yourself out there, you don't want secrets to pop up. You want to put things on the front end and then trust that it can be handled accordingly or favorably for you if that is possible. Most applications have the opportunity for you to write diversity statements. These are essays, things for scholarships of that nature. These will be things that would add diversity to their campus. Like me, I'm an African American, half Jamaican, female. You know, things that would add to the diversity of the campus. And essentially in that, you're just explaining what you would bring to the table in the form of diversity. Along with that, you will include that in your FAFSA application for financial aid. And so that's also something you want to consider, like look at the demographics of the school, look at the makeup, and see if you would qualify in some sense for adding diversity to their school. In the form of finances, which I'll do a separate video on finances for law school, but I will say you want to make sure that you are upfront with where you are financially, because you have to explain your financial situation. Like if you're an independent student, if you still live with your parents, whatever the case may be, it's very similar to what you did on your FAFSA application for undergrad. But they will ask, like, what are you in need financially, like for need-based aid and things like that. So just make sure you understand your financial situation, that you're honest with your financial situation to the best of your abilities. Make sure that you start working on your application sooner than later, because there are just many different components, and again, you just don't want to rush it. You don't want to have silly typos or silly grammatical errors just because you wanted to hurry up and apply when you do have time. So take it piece by piece. I literally spent weeks working on my personal statement, weeks writing diversity statements. You know, I took it piece by piece. I asked for letters of recommendations. You know, I gave myself a schedule of when I wanted to have certain things done and when I wanted to have certain things reviewed, so that when I was ready to submit, all those things would be done. I didn't do an application in one sitting. It would be kind of crazy to do it in one sitting because it has so many components, and you want to make sure that you're presenting your best self to the Law School Admissions Council. Oh, yes, check if your applications have fees. So for every school, they may have a fee, they may not have a fee. I applied to 2 schools, University of Memphis in Memphis, Tennessee, and Loyola Law in Chicago. And I got into both. Both of those did not have a fee. Now, the Law School Admissions Council, where you will upload your whole application and complete your application, does have a $35 like a processing fee for every application that you do. And so you want to make sure that, again, financially you have the money to pay to actually submit your application, and you know, are not like just not submitting it because you didn't know that your school had a $150 application. And I will say, there's like fee waivers and stuff for applying for school. So if you are really interested in school and they have like a $200 application fee and you're just not in a space to pay that, reach out to the dean of students, reach out to that school and let them know like you're really interested in applying. Do they have fee waivers? Ask questions like that. Don't be so prideful that like you miss out on a chance to save some money because you don't want to be vulnerable. Again, there are plenty of schools that don't have application fees, and online looking for schools, you want to make sure you pick a school that is somewhere where you want to live. Like you know, you don't want to apply for 20 schools just because they're free applications. And again, even if it's a free application, it will be a $35 processing fee for that. And so make sure like you're considering like your personality, like is it close to your family? If you desire to be there, don't just apply to schools like actually have an interest in the school that you're applying to. So you want to make sure you think about like a timeline that you want to have your application submitted. So my timeline that I want to actually have my application submitted was actually submitted Thanksgiving Day. I think it was, yeah, Thanksgiving Day. So that was in November. So before November, I had mapped out by this date I want to ask for my letters of recommendation. By this date I want to receive my letters of recommendation, which I will say all my recommenders asked like what was the deadline for them to get me my letter, because again I knew them and I knew that they they really wanted me to succeed. I knew they weren't going to like delay the process. For the most part, I just told them whenever they have the time, and then when they really wanted a date, I actually did give them an exact date just because I knew that that was something that they wanted. I took the LSAT in September. So again, the LSAT is a big test. You need to know yourself as a student. If you need to take a year to study for the LSAT, make sure you plan that out. But I took it in September after some time of studying and actually taking a course. I got my score back in October. Because I got my score back in October, I was able to get my applications in by November. Thanksgiving, I had all my letters of recommendations and transcripts, all of that. I actually heard back in, I think, my first school I heard back from maybe December 2nd. It was December 20th. It was in December. I was actually heading to the gym, saw the email, said I had been accepted to the University of Memphis. I was super excited. The other school I applied to, Loyola in Chicago, I heard back from them in January. I think it was after my birthday. Yeah, so again, and I would say the earlier you apply, as far as in there, you don't want to apply when they're not reviewing applications. You want to apply when they're actually reviewing applications. But again, the earlier you have the opportunity to put yourself out there, the earlier you will hear back. The longer it takes you to apply, less spots are available, less scholarships are available. So again, you do want to give yourself a timeline that gives you the opportunity to get in and receive some money. So yeah, again, plan that, be faithful to that. Tell other people you're planning about that. Let me see what else. Yeah, so just know law school applications are made up of many things. I was so worried about my GPA and the LSAT, like unnecessarily worried. I will say that, unnecessarily worried, because as far as my undergrad GPA, I was able to submit a GPA addendum, which allowed me to explain my GPA, which was no problem. As far as the LSAT, I took a course. I freaked out a lot about the LSAT, guys. I had the score to get me into where I wanted to go, and I still freaked out. Those are not the only two pieces of the application process. You want to be faithful to your personal statement, your resume diversity statements. You want to make sure your grammar, your spelling are all there. You want to make sure you have good letters of recommendation. So know that there's a lot of things that will speak to who you are. Just don't tie yourself up into an LSAT score or just a GPA, because those aren't the most important part. The complete application is equally important. And I feel like, again, I was just so GPA, LSAT, and I was grateful when I realized, like, I'm so much more than a GPA or an LSAT score, and I need to tell them that. I need to show them that. My recommenders are going to tell them and show them that, and it was good. And yeah, let's see what else I got on here. Yeah, I plan on making a video about the LSAT, because again, that's a different beast, and I don't want to make this video super long. And I will give you tips, tricks, what helped me. Again, I'm not ashamed of my LSAT score. I got a 154 on the LSAT, and my 154 on the LSAT got me into both of the schools I applied to. I also will say I am going to make a video on choosing the best school for you. Though I only applied to 2 schools, I still had to make a decision for me. And so I will have that out there. It's the summer. I have orientation for law school August 13th. So I plan to keep this vlog going throughout law school, just to encourage people and to let them know my journey. Again, if that's something you would like, let me know. If there's a specific video pertaining to law school that you would like to hear about, put it in the comments, message me, whatever the case may be. And yeah, I'm excited for this journey, and I'm excited to journey with you guys. So please keep me in your prayers. Due to finances, I do have a GoFundMe for my law school journey called From the Classroom to the Courtroom. If you're somebody who wants to join me on this journey financially, please do. $5, $10, $7, whatever the case may be, would bless me tremendously and just help me get things, more things in order that are needed. And so yeah, I hope this video was beneficial. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you like it. This shirt is from For the Kingdom. I had the opportunity to take some of my kids to FTK Camp, For the Kingdom camp in Memphis, Tennessee, specifically in the Fraser community, to have fun camping, hear the gospel, meet college students. It was awesome. So if you're in the Memphis area and you need a good place to take a group, urban youth, whatever, check out For the Kingdom camp and let me know what you think about it. Loved it. Best place ever. Also, there's also a place in Memphis that I learned about from For the Kingdom camp called ARK Farms. Check them out as well. And until next time, it's your girl Rose.